Other than that part.
This is the Black Powder Podcast, coming at you live and direct. Your salty tears season my life. It's the Black Powder Podcast. Thank you. And once again, welcome to another riveting episode of the only real libertarian podcast that has ever existed. And I am one of your hosts, Marcus Matthews, the only real libertarian and chairman of the Libertarian Wu-Tang Caucus. And I want to introduce my co-hosts tonight because we have a spectacular panel of co-hosts, starting off with my guy from North Carolina, the wonderful Eric Parker, the Bold Liberty guy. How you doing there, sir?
I'm doing good. I keep hearing the intro music popping up in the
That's
back.
me this time. That's me.
Yeah.
I was like,
who blamed me? Free already blamed me. That's his fault.
Like a DJ on the ones and twos. Nah, I'm doing good. Happy to be here. I know this is for me and others, not just me, but tonight's episode might be a heavy topic. But we are happy to discuss it. This is important issue going on here. Probably one of the biggest topics or episodes that we've had here on the podcast since I've been a host / co-host.
Word. And with our next guest I would like to introduce is our dear friend originally from Connecticut, but now he's a certified Florida man. Tub, how you doing today?
All right. First off, when did I become a guest? So if I'm a guest, I can just dip out of here.
Did I say guest? I meant host.
Yeah, you said guest.
He meant
Eric
hostage.
gets to be your main guy. And I have to be a guest.
Well, he
You know
misspoke, but Tub, you
misspoke.
already are gonna kind of dip out of here, probably.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
true.
I was
I'm not
doing.
you're right. You know what?
I was doing
I
two
changed
things.
my mind. I got to leave at 9:05.
All right. Well,
I
see you
gotta get out
later.
of here.
Hey,
Y'all have a blessed night.
shout out to me for buying a Thomas Massey shirt and repping it on the podcast. Oh yeah.
Hey, we're gonna
Shout
come
out to
back
me
to
for
you. This was
being
Tub's segment.
52.
Yep. All right. Tub's
All right.
got a Massey
And-
undershirt.
And our final host, guest or host or whatever that we're calling people tonight is Free, also a certified Florida man by way of Southside Chicago. How you doing tonight, my good
Chicago.
man?
What's up, gentlemen? Happy to join you. You know I love this show. I watch every week. It's one of the few things on my calendar, and I've had you all on my show, which I appreciate. And but you guys are like the OG libertarian podcast, which is weird because Marcus isn't a real libertarian.
Right.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Now, tonight we're having like this all-star, all-American libertarian roundtable discussion. Because starting in about 24 hours, we're going to be 1 week into the Iran war. And a lot of people are calling it a military conflict, or, you know, they're taking the whole Vladimir Putin special military operation BS on this, but it's a war. Let's cut to the chase, because that's when you're using torpedoes to sink ships, it's a war. And we're going to be discussing that from a libertarian perspective and giving our opinions on this subject matter. And we'd ask you to chime in with your thoughts. We already have one of my favorite people chiming in. Tub, close your eyes.
I was gonna say,
Don't read.
Yeah,
Don't read that.
I didn't see what she had up there, but I saw her last one. I was like, can we please tell her that's not this show?
Oh,
not
this
200
one.
points to anybody. No, we're not doing that. All right. Don't make us block her off of this. All right.
But also, we could do a crossover mashup, and all right, we need a producer to start tallying these points.
Oh boy.
Yeah, let's start stealing Free's thunder from his stuff. Free, we're gonna start off with you, and get your try
Throw
to be
you to the wolves.
Yeah. Straight up, what's your opinion of the Iran wars thus far? And give us your opinion, so to speak. I forgot what I was gonna say, but go ahead.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I've been calling it for years, and I keep wearing my shirt that says, no war with, and it's got Iraq, and it's switching to Iran. And as you guys know, I host a show called Are You Smarter Than a Politician?
That's a quick plug.
I forgot to plug that. That's
yeah,
that's pretty fast. All right.
Marcus' introduction was like a drive-by. It really and he missed. So, but on the show, one of the things we try to do is ask the questions that politicians never seem to answer, and obviously, preemptive strikes and undeclared wars is one of the things we've been talking about a lot. And, now that we're involved in Iran, this is not a small thing. It's 90 million people in Iran, and it's one of the most volatile regions on earth. And when a conflict begins like this, where it's, this willy-nilly, do we have cause? Do we not have cause? We want to do it, but do we have a good enough reason? History tells us that this is not going to be a small thing, and it rarely ends quickly and cleanly. And I think we're going to be there for a long time, and there's going to be blowback. So I really hate it, and, so, I mean, I never am one to cheer on war. I think that's the absolute worst outcome, and, should be the last resort. And in our case, should only be when someone attacks us, not to preemptively strike them based on, what seems like BS reasons. So, I just want to, continue to question them and continue to push back of what exactly are we doing over there? What does victory look like? And, how much is this going to cost us?
Exactly. Tub.
All right. So I should have gone before Free, because I would have said a lot of what he just said. It would have made it a lot easier.
Just say it again, and everyone tuning in now will think it was your
original. You'll owe me a Coke
tonight. Dude, Tub is crushing it. It's a good night for him. So, all right. So
he's got his meds straightened out finally.
Finally kicking in. No, those still aren't right. They're not. All right. So I know we got this broken up into sections. So we're going to try to stay focused. I'll be brief as far as this goes. So they can try to church it up however they want. You know how they're trying to run away from the word war, even though Trump said that. Remember at the very beginning, Trump says, well, we go into this war. And I made a comment about that online, that place doesn't exist. And they're like, well, just because he misspoke once. Listen, when you're in that position, words matter. And you have to be very cautious about how you phrase things, especially when you're saying war. Now, here's the thing. I said the same thing when they did it with Maduro. That's what I'm about to say right now. What if they switched it around? Take that very same scenario and switched it around and made them coming into America. Okay. So let's say they don't like, and listen, I had a conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking. I said, hang on. I says, here's, I think, what gets lost inside of this. I says, we think that we want to make America all around the world and everybody's going to be happy for that. And I says, what you have to understand is it's not, you don't go all the way around the world and everybody thinks America is great. I said, because think of it this way, and kind of what we were talking about a little bit before. So imagine somebody comes in, we'll say Obama comes in, launches some missiles, kills some people. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to have family members of those people who got killed. And they're going to go, wait a minute. My uncle, my dad, whatever it is, died. Why did they die? Because of America. That's how it's going to be known. So guess what? You have this animosity now that's in place. Okay. So what they're going to do. So imagine they're sitting wherever they want to at this point in time and go, you know what? America took out my uncle. America attacks our allies. America shoots missiles over to here. So they go, you know what? I'm tired of America because of the things that they've done around the world by putting their bases everywhere and threatening us. We're going to go into America. We're going to launch missiles. And we take the Maduro's example or even this and go, hey, we're going to snatch out the president. Or, hey, we're going to launch bombs. And I can assure you, nobody on this side would say that's not a war. And yet somehow, when it's us doing it the other way, it's not a war, guys. It's perfectly fine. So here's what I say. Hypocrisy isn't just for the church.
Now, we're going to go to the thank you, Tup. We're going to go to the only veteran free unit, sir, right? Or did you?
I did not. I did ROTC, and then my old man sat me down, and he said, you do realize that they send dumb asses like you out to die in the desert, right? And I was like, oh, wait, yeah, you might be right about that, you know? Because like ROTC, you do cool stuff like rappelling and shooting, and he's like, you do realize you're just cannon fodder, right? Like dumbasses like you, right? I'm like, all right, that made sense.
I did ROTC in college too, but we have a guy that actually raised his right hand and did the deed in Eric Parker.
For the record, Tubb was in the guard. He doesn't.
I was in reserves. I was in the Army Reserves.
Reserves.
Oh,
yeah.
dang.
So
that's the first time
I don't
hearing
ever say anything. I just
Tubb. Now I don't know if Tubb ever went anywhere.
I didn't.
Connecticut.
I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Fort Gordon, Georgia, in my unit in Connecticut.
Now, after I broke my ankle in Iraq, I had my surgery done in Fort Gordon, Georgia. For those that don't know.
Oh.
But anyways, yeah. So anyways, I digress. Whenever Marcus talked about doing this episode, I was hesitant, and it's because maybe I still got some scars, some wounds, whatever. It's close. Look, I deployed to Iraq. Free could rename his show "Do You Have a Functional Brain?" It would have the exact same meaning.
Very true.
But how do we get points on that show?
Anyways, Marcus won't.
Oh wow.
But yeah. So can you before I go? I'm not trying to get on a diatribe and bring up my my past, my demons, and all that stuff. Marcus, rephrase the original question you asked to Free, please.
Well, basically, it's what is your opinion of the war?
Look, I think it's something that was avoidable at all costs, especially from the president now, who candidate Trump said no new wars. He came to the Libertarian National Convention and convinced several people at the convention to support him, and it was largely because he was the freedom president and the whatever, you know what I mean, the most libertarian president of all time, and yada yada yada. We got, not we, because I didn't vote for him, but we're getting the short end of the stick, if you will. This is tough. I told you, this episode's going to be hard for me. I think it's a bunch of freaking bull crap. Okay. And I know I still have people in my family that are active duty military that were just in Kuwait 6 months ago. You know what I mean? So it's tough. I've lost friends to suicide from PTSD. This sucks. This sucks. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, war is not a natural human action, if I could frame it that way, because I like I said, I did ROTC in college. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I went to war. I have been shot at because I'm black and I live in the Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
And that's a true story.
To go to Iraq.
No, I didn't have to go.
And you have an abrasive personality too.
You may have deserved it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But
I'm not saying it was me, but I have an alibi.
And everybody knows I am one of the most pro-gun people you're ever going to meet, and I understand the purpose of a gun. I never want to use one against another human being because I simply don't want that on my soul. Even if it was in a righteous self-defense, I'm still going to have a measure of guilt because I go hunting and I still have a measure of guilt that I kill something, even though I'm going to eat it and feed my family with it. There's still that measure of guilt when you look at this animal and see that you killed it. And, you know, if you've ever cleaned a dove, their blood is warm. And
the lack of humanity for people to be like some random person walking, first off, before, and Marcus could get into the U.S. involvement in Iran and how they were borderline a democratic, a liberal country almost before we got involved.
exactly.
They had democratically elected people that we didn't like because they nationalized the oil industry. We could get into all that. You could just Google it. Just go read some Iran history.
Starting in 1953. Yeah.
1953. But like, imagine like those, and the people, imagine if Tehran is that their capital.
Yes.
And I assume it's been bombed at this point. It was probably, imagine.
We have a comment on that. They're basically
imagine the people of I have my in-laws live in Annapolis,
Maryland,
it's close to DC.
Yeah, where the Naval Academy is.
Yeah. Imagine Annapolis, DC, and Baltimore getting bombed because it's close to our capital, and the people living there had nothing to do with the government. Which, you know,
well, that was going to be.
Man,
yeah,
it'd be great if some. I'm just kidding. I'm not
no,
that
was going to be to my point, because I was going to say Trump and his family can pay for the best bodyguards and protection services money
bomb
can
shelters.
buy. Yeah. You have the Hegseths, you have the Rubios, you have the Millers. All of these people are going to have targets, not only them, but their family for the rest of their life, because, you know, culturally, these people believe that they're bombing right now, believe in blood feuds. They believe that you killed my grandfather or my great-grandfather, and that grandson or great-grandson is going to want to avenge that death in the family because it's about honor. I don't think Americans truly understand their culture and why we've been over there in such prolonged wars, because it's never going to end for them. There's all we forget about Iraq and Afghanistan. Nobody over there has forgotten about us.
Y'all forget about Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm talking about Americans because perfect example. Remember after 9/11, everybody was slapping bumper stickers on their car.
Yeah.
It was all raw USA, USA. And
American
all of that
flags
stuff
everywhere. Dude, I remember watching the shock and awe of them bombing Baghdad, and me and my family on like a box cable TV. We were camping at a lake or something, but it was like a camper or something that had a TV, bunny ear antennas, yada yada yada. And me and my brothers are singing "Bombs Over Baghdad." You know what I mean? Like, we thought it was funny and hilarious and amusing, not realizing what was happening in 2003. Right? That would lead to me
20
being
plus years.
deployed in 2009, 2010, changing my entire life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
anyway, sorry. Enough about me. Next.
All right. So I wanted to ask you guys, and we'll start off with Free. What do you think the outcome of this is going to be, both economically for America and geopolitically?
The outcome. So, you know, I don't think that it's going to be a quick out, right? So, you know, wars never end when the initial operations conclude. And so, you know, the post-conflict restructuring can last for years and years. You know, Afghanistan, we spent 20 years replacing the Taliban with the Taliban. And, and then, like, you know, we get involved in these security commitments that often extend way beyond combat. And, you know, if we go for political, stabilization, those efforts require an even longer commitment. And so, starting a war can create obligations that last for decades. And, the economic part of it is, I've seen estimates that, these, recent wars have cost like over $10 trillion, and we're paying interest on that money. Like, we didn't pay cash, like we put it on a credit card. So, we're paying interest on it. Like, it's such a huge part of the nearly $39 trillion in national debt. And so I saw recently, the DOD has said that they think that this is going to cost us $1 billion a day, and that if it lasts 2 months, it could be like close to $250 billion if this lasts just 2 months. So I just think it's absolutely crazy. I mean, the stock market's down. I mean, we're seeing the ramifications of it already.
Right. Tub, what's your outcome on this?
All right. I'll be quick here. I don't know if I want to keep following free. I'm just gonna say that right now. Okay. So
yeah,
but
can we mix it up a little?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. So here's the thing.
Everything free said.
So our history does not play out well inside of this. Okay, about what it looks like after. Okay, because you can look at Ukraine right now and see a perfect example. You can talk about Afghanistan like Free just did. Here's the thing, like a lot of times in my mind, I think maybe for a lot of libertarians, if we get past the idea of war, but it's not war, so don't worry about it. I always go to money. I always go to funding, stuff along those lines. And so supposedly what is happening now, Trump said he was going to be looking for funding to this until September. So that tells you realistically, this is not a few days and out like they were trying to tell us originally. And then what do we tend to do? We have a history of blowing up places and then going back and paying to rebuild it again. Now, with that, here's the thing. I'm going to say this real quick, and you can pass this off to Eric here. So I saw a thing earlier today, and in this, and maybe we'll get there. Has anybody else just given up? To be honest with you, I've kind of given up on American media as a whole. Okay. Yeah. I've started watching over the past week or so, a little more than a week or so. There's this, I call him a kid because he's probably in his mid-20s, a kid. And he's out of England. And he does these updates and he aggregates all these news sources and all these things. Dude's pretty legit because he's covering a lot of things that we aren't hearing and seeing here. Because it's funny that once you get out of the American bubble, especially for news, you start hearing things like I intentionally, he had mentioned a couple of things. I'm like, hang on, let me go look. Let me go see these. And it's funny, you get out of American media and these articles are there, videos, and they're explaining all kinds of stuff. So I intentionally saw some of these. I'm like, okay, let me go hit ours. Let's go hit our main ones. You know what I'm saying? Not a single word mentioned of any of it. And I'm like, that once again, it's the hypocrisy of it, what they're presenting versus what it really is. And it's a shame that we have to get outside of our own country to go hear truth. And here's one of the things that got me. So what they were talking about, how, and this, I don't understand, maybe y'all know something about this. So they completely leveled a stadium, like a soccer stadium. And I think it's actually in Tehran. Okay. And they're talking about how they wiped that out. And my first thing was, why? What is that for? Like, what are you doing? And then when you go back to the financial aspect of it, okay, so a number of these missiles that are dropping are $11 million each. And they're using those to wipe out a soccer stadium. And then you wonder, hey, are they just running money? Because remember, war is profitable. And so now are they just running money over on this side so they can produce things and make jobs? And I looked at it and I go, once again, what we're forgetting, that's our money. Yeah. So forget about the war aspect of it, but just the financial aspects of it. And we're going to take the hit on that one. So the long-term problem, in all reality, because of history, is not going to be what they're going to do over there. The long-term problem is going to fall on us. And how are we going to handle whatever happens, like what Free is saying, in the next couple months or so?
I will add real quick, Eric, I will add to Tubbs' point. I watch a lot of BBC and Al Jazeera because they don't sugarcoat and they're not beholden to any corporation per se like our media is. And it's very interesting perspectives. I'm not saying they're always right, but like Tubbs said, if you go look up what they're saying, you will find a lot of truth that you won't see.
I didn't realize they had children's shows.
Yeah, they do. It was I first heard of them on
That's
Sesame
Sesame
Street
Street.
on PBS.
Yeah, after we defunded PBS, Sesame Street went to Al Jazeera.
Hey, I watched PBS yesterday.
Marcus is getting his political information from Mr. Bean now.
I get it from the Count
Mr.
Dracula.
Bean and Aladdin.
Is it
Yeah.
Count Dracula? He's a economist. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah.
Tub,
One.
Tub,
Two there. Go ahead, Eric.
Tub, to your point about like bombing a soccer stadium, all I think of is like imagine you've seen the meme like of the Israeli Iron Dome and then the other missiles, and it's like our tax dollars, right? Because we fund both sides of the war. I envisioned our tax dollars locally funding a football stadium and then it getting blown up by our missiles.
Too far, dude. You went too far.
I'm just saying, like Jaguars getting $500 million. Then imagine if we funded the country that blew up the stadium. Anyway, I digress. That was just the vision of my head. So someone make that meme, put it in the comments. Before that, Marcus, could you restate the original question?
Yeah, what
ADD is kicking in.
What do you see as the outcome of this conflict? Either you could go to the economic side or the geopolitical side.
You should get closed captions for Eric. You should just have it like across. Yeah,
because I'm mumbling and nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. Talking fast.
I love it. You're the only Florida person I met with a Southern accent, so I appreciate it. Yeah,
me. Yeah, well, these two guys aren't originally from Florida.
No, they're not.
Nobody is. Nobody's originally from Florida.
Look, we're refugees. This is why I care about war. People shouldn't have to live as refugees.
Look, Northeast Florida is Southeast Georgia. Just know that. Okay?
Yeah, I got that.
If that makes sense. I want everyone to think back to what is going to be the outcome. Do y'all remember about 6 months ago, whenever, and envision this, whenever Trump bombed Iran, and all libertarians at first were like, I thought he said no new wars. And then within 12 hours, it was over. And for a second, we all kind of felt like, damn, they got us on this one, right? Like, it wasn't a war. Envision how I'm feeling. That headspace of like, libertarians got it wrong is what people were trying to say about us. We didn't feel that way because I knew this wasn't the end then. You don't just bomb a couple nuclear sites and then it's over. Like, I knew that, but social media wanted to make it out to be like, oh, see, libertarians, you don't know what you're talking about. You can have peace through strength, right? Just bomb a couple nuclear sites, and then we just go on about our business like nothing ever happened. Those of us paying attention knew that was just the start of something bigger. So I just want to think about that. Like, this is just the start of something bigger. What really POs me is the abuse of the War Powers Act and the vote that just passed. I don't know. Nobody's anti-war anymore, or pro-peace, or pro-constitution. And then they'll say, well, it is legal, and it is in the Constitution. And Congress did just vote. Well, hopefully people are paying attention to the vote that didn't pass, or did just not pass. And this whole, if you define it as a war or not, I want people regardless to be held accountable. You know what I mean?
Word. Yeah.
And Congress has abdicated their responsibility for the decision making on whether or not we go to war. That's what's happened. The reason the founders put it in the Constitution in Article 1, not Article 2, was because we vote for Congress every 2 years. So if your children get sent to war and they die, you'll remember that come election season, and you'll remember, I don't support this congressional candidate, this person in Congress, this member of Congress. I'm going to make it my duty to Back then, you would just shoot them in the street, and I'm not advocating political violence. But today, if you move forward, you would make it your mission to vote them out of office. If my son or daughter died because of the decision making of a bunch of politicians in their ivory towers, I would make it my mission and duty for the rest of my life to remove those people that voted for that war out of office. Well, whenever Congress doesn't vote on it, they can't be held accountable. So thank you, Thomas Massey, for at least putting the vote out there. Now people will know who to vote out of office, or do whatever you have to. And look, prayers go out for the 6 people that have already died. I don't know if those numbers have changed. That's the last numbers that I recall. This changes an entire family. This changes generations. These cuts run deep.
And over
that's why
civilians too.
Yeah. Well, in Iraq, hundreds of thousands,
millions,
if not millions of civilians were killed in the Middle East. Now Iran is probably already over several thousands. I don't know if it's up to hundreds yet, but it'll be there. Give it a couple more weeks. But that's why the founders made it the responsibility of Congress to declare war, because we vote every 2 years on them. So it's like, if the American people become anti-war, they can vote those people out of office every 2 years until you get someone that quits voting for wars. But when you give away that responsibility, you cover it up. I'm done.
Eric, if you ever run for office, I think you should take out a lot of those talking points and snip it in a video. I think that was very profound. Now I'm gonna switch.
I also think I'm really pissed off. So, and I mean, like this.
Yeah,
I've always
I like pissed. I like Black Eric, or I'm sorry, you call dark Eric.
No, I was about to say,
because if you were black, it would have been D Eric or Mutt Eric or
and
Judd
there'd
Eric
be some,
or something.
There'd be some punctuation in there somewhere.
Do I get a pass? I'm just kidding.
All right. So according to Reuters, I'll get back to you, Marcus, here. According to Reuters, 2 days ago, Iran had 1,230 people killed, with 175 of them being schoolgirls and staff of the school.
Oh man, dude! Like, come on, people.
That's the part.
Freaking humanity.
That's the part that pissed me off, because they directly asked Hegseth, "What do we know? Who was responsible for that?" And they said they're investigating. They knew what time the supreme leader of Iran was taking his morning dump. They knew what time he was eating breakfast. They knew every single aspect of his life and whereabouts. But you don't know who dropped this bomb on these coordinates. That is a whole load of horse plop. But you know what? I'm not even that. That's very personal. I hate the fact that those girls died for a foreign country, and ultimately, whether it was Israel or America, it was American weapons that were used to do that.
Now go back. Take that 175 schoolgirls, okay, who probably had brothers, fathers, all of those type of things. That now they killed my sister.
Exactly.
Yeah. So where do you think that rage goes?
If that was my daughter, it would be a blood race to no end.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go.
That would be the only thing that mattered for the rest of my life.
Precisely. The only thing, every day I would wake up, because everybody who knows me, and I will say this in front of my wife and my
They're in the garage?
Well, they know my daughter's my favorite person in the world. Free had a chance to meet her. She's beautiful.
How's your son feel about that?
Amazing young lady.
Your son
he knows.
Fiddle?
He knows.
Yeah, hey. Well, he knows. I told him he's my favorite baseball player ever. But
he's just happy he got Black Daddy that stayed.
Yeah. That's true. Because I used to smoke Newports. And I always came back.
Time to go.
I always
Hey,
came back.
Marcus, was there ever that thought, like, I don't gotta go? I'm just kidding.
But I mean, you can dip and people won't even say anything. You have the
He's
best
like, "Ah,
talent.
dude,
You know,
a
I'm a
they
very
expect me to
likable guy,
leave.
and I do all
A
the
black
cooking
guy I
around
work
here.
with.
White guys have to stay. We become bums. Black guys need to go buy milk, and nobody says anything.
Exactly.
It's expected.
Hey,
You guys got it easy.
Black privilege.
Black privilege.
All right, so I got this one for you guys, and we're gonna
You
go
didn't
back
answer
to
your
free.
question just now.
Yeah, hold up. Yeah,
What?
You
What?
didn't answer the second question.
Oh,
you
I
gotta
didn't?
answer it,
Oh,
Marcus.
what do I think the outcome is?
Yes.
I think Iran is going to switch from a imposing military force into a technologically advanced cyber force, because they realize that, you know, the Chinese and Russian weapons, and this was proven in Venezuela as well, are no match for the unlimited capabilities of the United States, because we don't have a military budget. They give them as much damn money as they want, which they expanded to quote unquote $1 billion, but that's just on the surface. It's probably twice as much as that. So Iran has to switch gears. And the only way they can compete with Israel or America is on an asymmetrical fashion. So they're going to have to move in a different direction as far as technology goes, and whether that be developing laser technology to shoot down incoming missiles, but they're going to have to focus on cyber technology to fight the wars of the future. Because and this is why I don't buy the whole argument Iran was going to attack us, so we had to attack them. Iran is literally using 1970s and 80s technology. There's no freaking way any conventional military on the face of this earth can stand toe-to-toe with the United States in any way, shape, or form. So why would you attack a country? Oh, that's like punching a 5-year-old kid, punching an offensive lineman from the Dallas Cowboys in the kneecap and says, "Let's get it on, sucker." It's not gonna do a damn thing. You can't hurt the United States, because they can level you conventionally. If the United States wanted to, Iran would be a sheet of glass, not from nuclear weapons, from conventional weapons, in 48 hours.
So,
Okay.
Tub, go ahead, but make it quick. I'm just kidding.
Then no, I don't want to. All right, so
No.
all right, so here's the all right. So I said this when the Ukraine and Russia war started. I said, okay, I said, guys, think about what was happening. And people didn't like it, but I said, okay. I says, technically at that time, Russia was minding its own business. They truly, it was what was happening is they kept, so the bully was out on the playground, but the bully wasn't bothering anybody. He was going about his business. And then all the kids started kind of throwing rocks at him, saying things about him. And he finally goes, well, if you're going to say all these things, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to go make it happen. And I said, that's kind of what Putin did. Because remember, everything was fine. He was just going about his business, just being over there, being the bully, but nobody messed with him. He wasn't messing with anybody. And then remember, they said, hey, they wanted to see about bringing Ukraine into NATO. And that was already agreed upon. You can't do that. That was an agreement we made. And he goes, you know what? If y'all are going to do this, I'm going to do something now. So here's what's funny. All they keep saying is that Iran was getting close to having these missiles to hit here and hit there and hit us, you know, the usual stuff. Here's what was funny. Okay, well, I shouldn't say funny, but yeah. Here's the thing. They started launching these missiles all over the place once they were attacked. So think about it. They already had them. You keep saying, oh, they're getting ready to have. Oh, they already did. But let's make it very clear. They didn't use them until we provoked them. Yeah. So if they were really mad at causing all of these issues, they could have launched these missiles into these other countries at any time they wanted to.
10 years ago.
Yes, but they didn't. So don't tell us that they could have. They already have them. We already see it happening. So once again, you provoked it, and then they go, well, I guess if you're going to call us out to it, we're going to go ahead and do it. Now, listen, I'm not saying what they're doing is okay, because it's not. But what I'm saying though is that sometimes we can just sit there and have our things and hey, leave us alone, and we're fine. We'll just sit here and do our thing.
To add on to what Tubbs saying, like they never attacked U.S.
Directly.
homeland, Hawaii. Nope. They attacked our military bases in the Middle East. Well, guess what? If we didn't have troops in Iraq still, which a lot
That
of people
was-
pretend
That was after
doesn't exist.
Trump killed a general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's,
but we still have troops in Iraq within missile distance in Syria and Yemen and everywhere else. Whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jordan,
free.
all of the Bahrain. We
Yeah.
have all of these military bases in the Middle East, and a lot of people say, "Well, it's good strategically." Well, it also puts you within missile range of because we're not within missile range of Iran if we were not in the Middle East. That's all I'm going to say. They didn't attack us directly. They retaliated to our military, and I'm not advocating for it, but you get my point. Those are the facts.
Well, I'm gonna drop a fun fact if I could spit that part out. We still have battalions of M1 tanks buried in the desert in Saudi Arabia. So, and that's 30 years later after the war. But Free, I wanted to get to you because you're just sitting there looking at me, and it's kind of like I'm keep holding my wallet. I'm wondering, should I reach for? Well, he tried to rob me in San Diego.
He is paying me by the hour to be here, like he pays most of his acquaintances.
Yeah.
Now,
I get paid by text. However many texts, I get paid per text.
We heard a lot of people saying a vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for a war with Iran or a vote for World War III. And I do blame the liberals because that turned out to be true. All the liberals that voted for Kamala Harris, and we got a war in Iran. So they were right about that.
They could have voted for Chase.
Yeah. So I blame all you damn liberals, specifically here in California, for voting for Kamala. But Trump they ran on the platform, no new wars, America first, economic issues at home, healthcare at home. They ran on all these things about taking care of us. Where do you stand as far as your logic on Trump saying all of that stuff and his specifically with Iran to the no new wars?
Yeah, well, I thought it became obvious towards the end of the campaign that, he was just saying what he thought people wanted to hear. And, even beyond the war stuff, it seemed like he was just throwing stuff out there and seeing what people reacted positively to and didn't have any real plans. And so I thought as the campaign went on that he got less and less impressive. And, I think at the core of it, there are political incentives for war. And this administration's been an absolute disappointing disaster. And, sometimes wartime action can favor approval ratings, like boost up his approval ratings, which are in the tank. And, you guys talked about it earlier, but sometimes there's national unity from these types of conflicts. And, political opponents may be hesitant to criticize you during wartime. So, I think that this was a card that he wanted to play all along, and he's a lame duck, and there's nothing we can do about him for, 2+ years. And, I think that, his donors wanted him to do this. Netanyahu's been asking for us to do this for 30+ years. So, I think if you watched where the donor money was coming from, you pretty much could tell what we were going to get. And here we
are. Yeah. Donor money like the Sheldon, what was it? Sheldonson family?
Adelson.
Adelson. Yeah.
Sheldon's dead.
Well, that was
too
his
sad
first
about
name,
that, but
right?
it's Miriam.
Yeah, that was his first name, Sheldon Adelson. Yeah, the Adelson, what did they give him, like $250 million or whatever it was? And they're real big on Zionist causes.
That we know of, probably.
And
stacked his whole cabinet. Marco Rubio is a favorite of theirs, and, Marco Rubio, who in the primaries got like less than 1% of the vote is now like, you know, almost equally important to Trump and driving this whole war. So, you know, you don't get what you vote for ever. And, you know, you get more war. And, you know, the old joke, no matter who you vote for, you get John McCain. You know, this is a whole cabinet of John McCain.
That's go ahead.
Sorry. Everyone's seen the meme with like all the ghosts of all the dead politicians. You had John McCain, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, all left and
Dick
right,
Cheney.
all the people Dick Cheney, and they're all looking over whenever Biden got elected, and it said, finally, war with Iran. You know what I mean? But turns out it was Trump getting elected. Who knew?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Did you see my meme where I said you made me think of this earlier, but I made a meme where I called the war economy a Bombsy scheme, and you know they're just looking for anything they can do. You know, like they're like Karens at like, you know, the supermarket, like looking for something to get a discount on. And you know, the military industrial complex gets rich off of all of this. They get contracts, minerals get seized, you know, and then they get paid to rebuild it all. And, you know, so don't get distracted. You know, war is big business. War is a big part of our GDP. And, you know, they'll just look for any excuse to use, like Tubb said, you know, these $11 million bombs, and, you know, just, you know, they'll shoot them at soccer stadiums. They'll shoot them off in the parking lot like teenagers. You know, they just want to get rid of these bombs.
Like some rednecks are on a burn barrel.
Exactly.
Or like we didn't actually have any targets. We just launched
those weddings that you see on YouTube where like the drunk guys like shooting his guns in the air, and all the less drunk people are like, this seems like a bad idea. Like that's literally the military industrial complex, and the wedding is planet Earth.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you ever played a sport, you practice a lot, and then when it's all said and done, what do you want to do? You want to get in the game. You want to use your skill set that you blood, sweat, and tears practicing. Eventually, you want to go out there and play the game, and that's what this is. There was I read a story today. Your new Department of Homeland Security, which I think is a complete BS department. Thanks George Bush and 9/11, Saudi Arabia, and whatever.
Patriot Act.
Yeah, Patriot Act. But he bought some defense stocks because he's on the Armed Services Committee right before this war started. And guess what? He made a lot of money. And
I picture like the military industrial complex, like their lobbyists going into Congress, and like they've got like a PowerPoint presentation, and they're like, hear me out. We bomb boats. Okay. Here's what we do. We say that there's fentanyl on them or whatever it is, and we just start bombing boats, but we use the expensive bombs because they bomb the hell out of these boats, and like they're just looking for reasons to just use these munitions and new technology. Well, if you want to bomb boats, you're going to need the new drone to do that. The old drone doesn't do boats. The old drone only does people. You need the new drone if you want to bomb a boat. You know, it turns into like a watercraft seminar. You know, like a guy, a door-to-door vacuum salesman. You know what I mean? Like, I know you got a vacuum cleaner already, but doesn't do better
one. I know you can blow stuff up, but this will blow it up better.
Yeah. You see that guy? He has 4 outboard motors on his boat. Now, if he had an inboard motor on his boat, you need this bomb right here. So yeah. Tubb,
if you want the boats that can only go 30 miles that were obviously not coming here and didn't have fentanyl on them, if you want those boats, you need a different drone for those.
I just want to add this one semi-relevant point to the boat bombings. They would have to refuel over 20 times to reach the United States.
Yeah.
And how do you know for certain whatever's in those boats is drugs? That is the most ridiculous one. Aside from this Iran war, we are doing some of the most ridiculous acts of just savage brutality and violence
You know,
that any country has done since Genghis Khan at this point.
Well,
It
in
is-
our defense, gas prices are going up, and we saved
Yeah.
them some refueling costs by just blowing them out of the water.
Yeah.
well,
they
now it's
quit
not
buying their
economically
fuel.
feasible,
You know what I mean?
but it is.
I want to know how many tanks of gas does it take for those boats to get here from Iran?
20
That's
times
what that's
from
what
Iran.
we really
Oh, my
need to be
bad.
worried about is the
Yeah.
Iran boats. You know, the
Yeah.
little tiny Iran boats.
Well,
Eric, that's a different drone. You're gonna need to buy a different drone for the Iran boats because they
all right,
don't
Marcus,
speak English.
get Tubbs' attention for 10
All right,
minutes.
Tub. What is your Tub Trump no new wars opinion?
All right, so let's start with this. I am America first. Also, I want to make that abundantly clear. You know what? You know what country I care about? America.
America.
So I would
America
be on board
only.
when yes. Listen. So I look and I go, let's be very clear. Now, here's what's happened. It's so funny how much Republicans hate Democrats when they get talking points, because Democrats do. They get their talking points and they push them out and everybody runs off. That's exactly what the Republicans are doing right now. And inside of that, they've come out and they go, listen, they're not doing this for Israel. Yeah, they are. Let's be abundantly clear in this one. Because now here's what they've started saying. Well, Trump was talking about doing this back when he first ran. Remember, they're like, oh, the first time he ran, he was talking about, I'm going to blow up Iran. They cannot get a nuclear weapon. And that's what he phrased it on. And then remember, he did nothing the first 4 years. He keeps talking about these past bad administrations who have done nothing, forgetting that he was one of them. So he did nothing at all before. So what they've been saying is, remember when they first started bringing this up, remember the night he came out where they said he might have had a black eye? That's a whole other thing. And he came out and he's talking about, hey, we just bombed. And then with that, what he was saying is, he's like, listen, because they were back to getting nuclear weapons again. I'm like, wait a minute. You just told us in June that you handled that problem. That was
Obliterated.
a issue. Yes. So what you're telling me is either they're way faster than what we thought, or you lied to us before, or both of those are wrong. Because you lied to us before and they're not trying to do anything. You want this war because you kept saying that you were going to have it inside of there. Here's what I've been questioning, because there have been a lot of the Republicans talk about this is a great thing. And they have all their talking points that they're spewing out there. And I ask this one question. I say, change the leader and it changes the opinion. Like if this was Biden doing the very same thing, they would be saying all of the opposite things. We can't just start this. You can't just attack countries because you don't like them. All of the stuff would be happening at that point right there. And so I look at it and I go, man, so his plan was all along, supposedly he was going to do this. So now, as you said, he's a lame duck. Now he's got to. And now he's got to do the things. And I look at it and I go, so the problem is like we've been talking about, how far does it go? Like how far is pleasing Israel and Donald Trump's ego going to drag us into this chances are, like we were already talking about, this is going to go past his presidency.
Way past.
This is not done with him in all reality. So I look at it and go, what do we do? And I think we've been talking about this. So what do we do moving forward? Because if you remember, when Obama launched just missiles, they fussed. They were so mad about we can't do this. And now all of a sudden they're on the other side. So my fear is this will continue, because I'm going to say this now. Their propaganda is good. Okay? People are falling for it. And they're coming out. Now, I'm having just read. There are people who usually aren't so crazy. They don't pick a side so far. They've been going hard on defending this one. Okay. Yeah. Like real quick, I'll tell you, I have satellite radio for one reason. His name is Andrew Wilkow. He's on from noon to 3 every day. Amazing. Like he's a Republican, but he's very friendly to libertarians. He mentions libertarians every single day and in a good way, always. And even he has gotten on, well, we've been fighting this war for 47 years and we're going to end, all of the talking points. And here's what I'm going to tell you. As long as they have talking points, weapons, and money to spend, this is going to keep going on.
Yeah.
How did he get a better plug than me? That's what I want to know.
Oh, wow. We'll get to you. We're not going to end without talking about you at all. We got our boy Lars chiming in.
You started with a plug.
What's up, Lars? I plugged myself.
From the very beginning. Whoa.
Hey.
Whoa. We're not that show.
Yeah, this is wrong show.
Yeah.
Hey, on a side note, hey, Lars, I sent you an email earlier today. I just want to put that out there.
That's
All right.
probably why I
He's actually
showed up.
watching.
Just kidding. Did your email say we'll be on the Black Powder podcast? Just kidding. Speaking
even
of,
my homegirl is like, whoa.
See?
Eric,
shameless plug. Tubbs running for city council here in Jacksonville, or there
Not
in
here.
Jacksonville, Florida, District 10. I don't know if we got a link for him. Look him
well,
up. He's
I
on all
want
the
to get
things.
to.
I'm going to be a guest here in a couple weeks. Don't worry
All
about
right, cool. Do it
I
later.
want to get to this
Back
quick.
to Free.
Eric,
Go ahead,
I'm
Free.
sorry, but Tubb has
Go ahead,
about 5 minutes with us.
I'm
So
done.
I want to.
Send it.
I want to get to this point real quick. And, if anybody doesn't know, Tubbs a pastor, and we all have religious beliefs here. My father was a deacon here in the fourth
All right,
largest
you said
No way,
real
economy.
quick.
Your dad was a deacon?
Here
Yeah.
we go.
But,
Marcus,
Yeah.
you said real
Hey, how's
quick.
the economy in California?
Fifth
It's the
largest
fourth largest
economy.
Fourth. But
All right.
there was I read several articles, and I Googled this. You can Google it yourself. Google
Google it.
Armageddon in the
Google that.
Iran war.
Googly.
Google it. But there were generals that supposedly were telling people that this was the beginning of Armageddon, as far as the bringing the rapture and all that stuff, and Jesus' second coming. Where do you think the Bible stands on this, Tubb?
Okay, so here's the thing. I want to bring this up again maybe next week. Only
Okay.
because I didn't know. I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard them saying that. And there's a lot of end time stuff that gets wrapped up into that one. Now, let me be very clear. I'm not an end times guy. Like, I'm not. That's not what I do. I'm a life application guy. Okay. Initially, what I thought you were going to talk about is what they've been saying now for the past few weeks about how
Which
we
was?
have to defend Israel biblically. In fact, there was a pretty lengthy interview with Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so Mike Huckabee is a pastor. Okay. A miserable one. Okay. Because I'm like, dude, you don't even know the Bible. You don't even understand what it's saying. Because just to make it real quick. So before when they say, hey, it says that anybody who blesses Israel will be blessed. Anybody who curses Israel will be cursed. And they're using that as why we have to have this ongoing support of Israel. Two things. One is we have to understand Israel, the people of God, is not Israel, the people of government. They're not the same thing, okay, inside of that. But also, here's the bigger problem with all of that. That's not what those verses are saying. What those verses are saying are not talking about Israel. Israel wasn't even a thing yet. The Israel, Jacob, the person wasn't born yet. There was no land or anything. They said it to Abram. And they said to Abram, anybody who blesses you, I will bless. Anybody who curses you will be cursed. It has nothing to do with Israel. It doesn't have anything to do yet with the people of Israel, because those are the children of Jacob. Okay. And there was no land, because what was happening when that was said, Abram was still at his land before he was sent away. So inside of that, all of this, what they've been trying to do with Bible stuff, it's so funny. People who don't care about the Bible ever, all of a sudden care about the Bible when they're trying to use it to defend oftentimes horrible political beliefs. And so we can maybe next week or whatever we can get into, or maybe we'll make some posts, or maybe you make a reminder. I'll go post it on the podcast page about what you were referring to there, about how it's going to usher in end time stuff. That's absurd, because let's be very clear. To make it as simple as it could possibly be, even Jesus says that no man knows the time. Okay, there's nothing. As soon as people think they figured it out, God's going to change it. It's just that easy. So there's no reason to think that anything that we're going to do is going to make God go, okay, yeah, I think I'll do this now. God fully knows. God sits on the throne. He fully understands when it's going to happen. He doesn't need us to do it in all reality. So I would suggest that the idea, and I'll look into that more, Marcus, if you can, when you're done, shoot me. I think Eric, you mentioned this before we came on. Is there an article, or is there something? I think it's what you were talking about. If you can, shoot that over to me, and I'll make a post on it on the podcast page.
Is Huckabee
Okay.
a better pastor or bass player?
Oh, it's got to be at this point bass.
I didn't know he
Because-
was a bass player.
They
No,
keep
that's
doing
sometimes
those,
kind
like-
of.
They keep doing like Sweet Home, like Jerusalem, and like they keep doing
my
like
God.
these- oh, it's
You-
terrible.
Do you
If
understand?
you haven't
So
seen
he's-
it, it's like the worst thing ever. They change all the lyrics and it's like
he's supposed to be
pro-Israel propaganda.
he's supposed to be over there representing our country over there. And what's happened? He's gone over there as a representative of our country, and he's representing them.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
He's
Yeah, if
full
you
on
watch that
pro-Israel for
yeah.
all of this. I'm like, dude, my thing, call him back home. He's done.
Well,
Like,
that's
that's
the
not what you're over
problem,
there
though.
for.
It's like, is Trump all in? A Tub, it's 10:01.
I know I'm fixing to go.
All right,
Guys,
Well,
I'll
I
talk to
love
y'all
you.
later on. Free, I'll talk to you later.
Free,
Yeah,
how
take care,
much
Tub.
time you got, Free?
You know, I got
A little bit
I got
longer?
Show in like 19
At
hours
least
or something.
7
But
more minutes.
Yeah.
All right. We're doing a
All right, so-
telethon, people. Tub
Yeah.
didn't know this. 24 hours
If you-
talked about Iran.
If you got Tub had to go pick up his wife. If you didn't know, Tub is running for city council in Jacksonville, Florida. You find him at Tub for 10. We're going to be doing a show with him on March 26th, I believe, and he's going to be the guest. We might as well invite Free on to be a host so he could question Tub too,
you
but
wanna
we'll see
do it?
what happens.
You want to do it?
I got questions. I got questions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
if
got to
you got
figure out what he's really up to, you know?
Yeah. So, at any rate, did either one of you wanted to expand on that biblical aspect of what they're saying, this Warriors? Or
Hey, I'm
or
not
we-
your guy. Consult your local pastor or reverend or priest.
But you can
or
have an
preacher.
opinion.
You can have an opinion. I don't think you should be listening to a government ran by Netanyahu who isn't even a practicing Jew.
Jew.
I
Yeah,
think I
no, you're
read
not.
that. So, like, here's an idea. Maybe you shouldn't even be listening to him. Like, there's nothing against the people of Israel, Jewish people, your religion, your denomination, but I'm pretty sure Netanyahu is atheist, if not agnostic. He's not even a practicing Jew. Here's an idea. That is the Antichrist, if you will, or is that to if you're
Oh.
an atheist? I'm just saying. Which I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. No, I don't want to talk about it. You Free, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think anybody that uses religion to justify any sort of politics whatsoever, but especially war, I hope that they reserve a really special part of hell for them. And the Jeffrey Dahmers and those guys are haunting them for eternity. So I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I want that guy, that black guy that was sitting on the edge of the bed, that big, thick black guy. You know who I'm talking about in that
Now
meme?
that Tub's gone, we can bring up the movie.
I
for the
want him
record,
to pummel
Everyone,
all these
uh,
pseudo-religious people in the afterlife for their blasphemy.
just
Because
so you know,
it's disgusting to me that well,
that
go ahead.
dude's giant wiener was
Was
enhanced
photoshopped.
digitally. I want y'all to know that.
I
I'm
hope
sure
they
you
I
know
hope they
that.
have to I hope they have
Don't
to
go
rub
look it up.
Epstein's feet in hell. That's
Yeah.
that's what I hope.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude. But it saddens me truly that these people are framing this, because that's what a lot of Christian religions have, because there's multiple Christian religions, sects or whatever.
Thanks for the update.
Can I finish my point? Denominations that change Christianity to suit their political beliefs. And that's the way it's always been with the Christian church. That's why it's so fragmented. But to frame this as biblical while you're trying to justify it, it's cheap. It's whorish.
Yeah.
You're selling out your soul, and we're not getting anything. No, God does not approve of this. I know he doesn't, because this was not a righteous war against true evil. A righteous war against true evil would be publishing the Epstein files, where you only redact the victims of the Epstein files, not the people who sent the emails to Epstein or or who he's replying to, or the people who that were communicating with him, whatever conversations they were having, when they redacted those people, and it would be in its entirety. This is something I will say, and it's not very popular, but it's the truth. This country was founded on human trafficking and sex trafficking. From its inception, it was part of its foundation. And it has to end somewhere, and it has to end with this generation, because it is still going on worldwide. We can't stop it worldwide, but the British did stop the Western slave trade in this. They took it upon themselves, so it's not a impossible feat, but this is something we need to do and stop this now and make it unacceptable. And right now there is no, and that includes legalizing prostitution. And I'm not saying government should regulate it, but they should be tested, so you're just not out there giving people bumps and stuff for a couple bucks.
Speaking of STDs, I'm just kidding. Marcus,
that was a weird
done.
Yeah.
That was a real transition.
No.
So,
all right. So let's go back a couple of questions. We could do them kind of rapid fire. I know Free doesn't want to hang out for the entire 20 hours of this telethon.
Yeah, well, I had one more topic for us, and then we can go into our closing remarks, if that's cool.
I'm cool with that, unless Freeze wants to hang out longer.
I'm good. Whatever you guys want to do.
All right.
Okay, so the last topic for you guys was Trump said he wants a role, in selecting the new leadership of Iran. Now, how is that bringing America, to Iran if the United States is telling you who you can have as a leader? Because I'm pretty sure that shit's been done before. Free?
Yeah, so it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier. Like, what is the end game? And every war eventually reaches a moment where those involved in the war have to decide how it ends. And it seems like, we should have negotiated more on the front end and, used diplomacy and the other countries that said that they wanted to help with peace negotiations. We should have taken them up on that offer. But, how do you diplomatically and fairly end a conflict that began with force, right? So, and these political settlements then shape the post-war environment, right? So, and then, we've been talking about how long this will last, right? The longer this lasts, the harder those compromises become. And so I think Trump saying, he wants to be the one to decide that, I just think is just shows that his narcissistic self, where it's all about him and like he can't really deal with anyone else. And so that worries me a ton. But we should think more about avoiding the war than thinking about how much influence we're going to have when the war ends.
Yeah.
Precisely. Eric?
It's like they're putting the cart before the horse, but they never even considered the cost of the cart or the horse's life the entire time. You know what I mean? Like, none of it really makes sense, but it is just they're repeating our same interventionist foreign policy regime change nonsense that has been going on my entire life. If obviously way before, Marcus's entire life.
I'm 27.
You're way before my entire life. So I'm just saying, like, this is the same show. It's a rerun. We've seen this one before, and they still haven't learned their lesson. And I don't know. How do they learn their lesson? At what point does the American public or the voters or whoever start holding people accountable. And how do we? And that's a discussion for another time. Like, how do we help them and make them learn their lesson? Like, stop falling for the same bull crap. But I don't know that the cabinet cares. I don't know that all the people appointed, and I do want to know, like, I was never a fan of Trump, but I want to know, like, did Susie Wiles just appoint all the neocons and then be like, finally, war with Iran? And why has she wanted to be at war with Iran for so long? If it's her, or was it Trump? Or is Trump just the guy that's like, he's the talking head, and he's kind of what we all called Biden, like, like the skin suit. You know what I mean? He's just, they got his family held hostage. Maybe he was in the Epstein files. Maybe they got him blackmailed. Maybe the Epstein was an Israeli agent in the intelligence community, and they got dirt on all these fools, and they're just like at their will. Or is this the military industrial complex realizing that the Ukraine war was becoming unpopular, and we need a war that we could sell to the gullible American people? You know what I mean?
Trump doesn't care about this at all, and you can tell by just listening to him talk. He cares more about that ballroom than he does about anything else that's going on in the country across the board. You know, I mean, he's basically a senile interior designer that's being run by, you know, his donors and the deep state and the neocons. I don't think he cares what's going on. He's basically AutoPen 2.0.
Yeah. Well, did you notice they dropped the AutoPen?
They did.
Yeah, they did. They dropped that on the
It's like, there's no legal precedent. It's like, well, but it's because he's probably using it, and it doesn't want to create a legal precedent that will be used against him.
Because, you know, basically the world leaders have just figured out that flattery will only get you so far, because their original policy towards Trump was just to flatter him and patronize his BS or whatever. And then after the tariff fiasco, they saw that you could tell Trump everything he wants to hear.
Yeah.
And it still won't matter.
Well, he got the Israeli Peace Prize, so I think that had influence.
Yeah. They're like, and you know, how many
million? We'll see what he does with the World Cup, the soccer Peace Prize, because he got that one too. But the last poll I read, roughly 6 in 10 Americans were against this. But you know what they do here in America with war, if you're anti-war, you're anti-American. And I'm like, I look back to Grenada, and I remember this because I was one of those weird kids that watched the news and read the newspaper. People were fearful because we still had Vietnam fresh in our minds, and I think Grenada was 1983, and Vietnam ended roughly 1975 or so. So it wasn't even 10 years. But America still had that quagmire of Vietnam in their head, and they were concerned that this could be another war that the United States gets dragged into for an extended period of time for no reason, because they're going to fight with one hand tied behind their back. And that sentiment was also brought up in 1991 when we went into Iraq the first time. I don't think Americans that's not lost on them with this Iran thing. But what pisses me off the most is when I bring up Trump's campaign promises on no new wars, the Trump supporters have excuses. This really isn't a war. It's basically a military operation and all of that good stuff. And I'm like, dude, do you understand? It's not just going to end here. And like we were saying throughout this, you could bomb the crap out of all of these people. They're not going to forget it. Eric, again, contrary to popular belief, Americans will forget it, except the people who were over there that were actually fighting it. But Americans in general will move on to whatever it goes viral next.
And
But
I mean,
yeah.
I just how do we forget very quickly that we were in the Middle East for 20 plus years? Literally, Biden's Afghanistan debacle, but he did get us out of Afghanistan, but he fumbled the football, right?
That
A
was
little bit.
actually Trump that negotiated that
Well,
getting
yeah.
out of it.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Trump negotiated getting out of it, and then Biden's withdrawal, and
Was a
like his
clusterfuck.
like, yeah, exactly. To pardon your French, but and I'm fine with you saying it. Anyways, I digress. You get my point. Like,
Yeah. All right.
even getting out of there, they screwed up. But hey, here's an idea. How about let's not get involved there in the first place? And that's what a lot of people, probably not the people in the comments of our episode, are getting sucked in. And I'm not trying to keep you too much longer, but like,
We're gonna do closing after this comment.
where do you think the political landscape is? Because you know, not to assume, but like, just everyone, I get it. We're anti-war. We get it. We understand. But do the common American people and the voters, and what is the strategy, like you were kind of alluding to? Like, how do we wake people up and how do we change this? Do I gotta make a poster board and go protest? Do I go into the congressional committee like the Marine veteran did and get your arm broken, and you know what I mean? Get
You got to have
dragged
some
out of there?
squabbles to do that. Don't do
That's
that.
what I'm saying, though, is like, what? How do we wake people up to what's actually going on here?
I mean, I don't think that we can. I mean, I think that people are either disconnected or brainwashed. And, you know, I argue with my anarchist friends all the time when they say that, you know, we shouldn't vote and we shouldn't feed into the system. You know, 130 million people voted for president this time, and they either voted for one of two terrible options. And, you know, so I mean, I don't think you can wake up that many people before this whole thing collapses anyways and turns into, you know, the new world order or whatever it is, you know. And sorry to sound black pilled, but what I always talk about on the show, and you guys know this, you know, we need to withdraw from as many of their systems as we can as quickly as possible. And so the only thing that's going to stop this is if we can take our money out of the system and our, you know, our wealth, and, you know, not submit to their control, and, you know, build parallel systems, concentrate on local, work on nullifying state and federal laws from the local level. I think the fight is local, and that's why I as an anarchist, I believe in, you know, the goals of, you know, most of my libertarian friends, because I mean, I think the fight's local, and if you can have an influence locally and you can get liberty first people elected at the local level, then you can start pushing back against all of this. And, you know, the sanctuary cities have gotten such a bad rap recently because of immigration, but there are like, I think a couple hundred counties that are sanctuary counties for gun laws. And so, you know, we need to push back against all of their crap and do it wherever you can, push back whenever you can, speak out against it, talk to whoever you can. And, you know, I think the fight's local.
Word. All right. So as we close this up, I'm going to give both of you guys and myself, in my generous nature, you know, just your closing statement for the night. Eric, we'll start with you. As you're about to sip your refreshment.
Yep, I was as I was gonna say. Look, guys, I am praying for all of you, praying for our country. This is a difficult time, and I feel like it wasn't great even before this. Like, I don't know, like politics, I feel, and I always keep forgetting this term, but a little bit of burnout. And I'm not saying I'm leaving the podcast or anything. That's not what I'm getting at. But like politically, like we're getting at, like we all keep trying to make a difference. We keep trying to inform people that there are alternative choices to the uniparty or status quo, or as Free alludes and people in the comments, to even voting. Like that, we're not going to vote our way out of this. But I liked the comment, like it's a defensive choice here to vote libertarian. And if there's any liberty leaning Republicans, there's probably two left. Voting for them too if you're still in the Republican Party. But I'll let you know, if you're anti-war or you just disagree with this war, if you're pro-Constitution, if you're limited to government, and you're a member of either party other than the Libertarian Party, just know you are welcome within the Libertarian Party. So we got to keep doing this though. And Tubb kind of mentioned it before he left. Like he's kind of done with establishment media, corporate media, the news. Like we can't trust what they say. It's so crazy to see people put on the Fox News smile and come on and try to tell you why we have to be involved in this war and why bombing children in Iran has to happen. That is a bunch of horse plop, if I was here to quote my friend Marcus. And like, you don't have to believe that. And in fact, you should push back and tell them maybe we shouldn't be killing innocent people anywhere. And we definitely shouldn't be doing it without a vote in Congress, because that's your easiest way to hold your federal government accountable, is to vote them out every 2 years. If they keep killing people that you don't want them to kill, you should be able to vote them out. But when the president, a lame duck president, does essentially an executive order, makes the call without congressional approval on its own, it's really difficult for you to hold a lame duck president accountable. So I don't know. I'm still
I
pretty
can dig
pissed.
it.
I told Marcus when it's like, want to do this episode, what did I say in the text? This person said, I'm not sure I'm in the right headspace right now to do this. But he brought in some help from Free to right the ship, because I'd have went off. Anyways, love y'all. That's my closing arguments. It's kind of
I love you too.
But that's my headspace right now. This has me pretty effed up, and I'm sorry.
Rightfully so. Don't feel sorry about that, brother, because your heart and your head's in the right place. Now, Free, I'm going to ask you to deliver your closing remarks on this episode as far as the Iran war goes. And I ask you to use your mind in doing this, because I know that's a tremendous amount of energy you need to expend to come up with a coherent thought, being that you now live in Florida. But I jest. Go ahead, my man. And thank you, obviously.
Yeah. No, I mean, first off, I want to give a shout out to Eric. He did a space one time with us where he talked about his experiences and why he's anti-war based on his experiences. And dude, you're such a thoughtful, smart, young guy. And, you know, everything you say, I listen to and I just concentrate on, and I try to get as much out of it as I can, because you speak the truth. You have no filter, and you just, you know, put it out there, and, you know, hopefully you're educating a ton of people with your experience. So I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you, brother. And I know this is hard for you. And I was emotionally with you when you were talking, and it's hard to hear, but it's important to hear. So I really appreciate you, fighting through it and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
But my closing would be this. So Congress never declared a war on Iran, and the American people sure as hell never voted for this. And the track record of regime change and military intervention thousands of miles away is absolutely disastrous. Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, they show how easy it is to start wars and also how hard they are to end. So at home, war always expands government power, and the costs get paid for by us. And, the Patriot Act was a disaster. And now we have all of this domestic surveillance and spending and debt and inflation. These all grow when these conflicts escalate, right? So when you bomb a country, retaliation and escalation and blowback are totally inevitable. And the real danger doesn't lie in the first strike. They always say it's going to be, weeks, not months. But then there's a chain reaction that always follows, and we should learn from that. War should be the absolute last resort, a defensive action, not the first reaction. The people who pay the price for wars are soldiers, their families, civilians, taxpayers, and it's never the politicians that start these wars. The Constitution, which is, almost always ignored, was designed to slow down these rushes to, bomb people. And it was designed that way for a reason. And if we care about peace and liberty and the lives of Americans and their families and civilians and, people of the world, we should always ask the hardest question first. Is war truly necessary? And to quote a great man, a friend of mine, and a host of a show that I really like, vote libertarian.
Well, I want to, I think that guy, he's freaking awesome. Probably one of the most handsome people I've ever seen in my entire life.
I like to call him Dollar Store Eminem.
Is it Spike Cohen?
But thank you for those thoughts, Eric and Free. I want to close this by saying this. I'm not a fan of Trump because my son was a junior in high school and my daughter was a sophomore in high school when the pandemic hit and he closed down the nation. And my son played baseball. They got 9 games into the season and they sent them home. My daughter, her friend network that she's been friends with for multiple years before that, they were separated. Both of them suffered immensely, and I will never forgive Trump for his handling of the pandemic and giving Democrats the power to put government control on steroids, because as the Free alluded to, every time there's a war, we lose less liberty. And that's a proven fact. When we had the pandemic, that was a war directly on the American people, and we lost liberty. And my kids suffered immensely, and it struck me directly in the heart. And like I said, I will never forgive him for that. Not to do the partisan part because I think they both suck, but I cannot recall a Republican president that left the economy in a better situation than when they walked into the Oval Office in my lifetime.
Calvin Coolidge, a Republican. That was the last.
I'm not that old, Eric. But I do not recall one Republican president that has left the country better off than he found it. And we're headed in that direction right now. You know, when Pam Bondi got out there and was talking her crap, deflecting away from the Epstein victims, the Dow was at 50,000 points. Today it closed 2,000, roughly 21, less between 2,000 and to 2,100 points lower than that. Oil is up. Gas prices are up. When I was talking to this clerk at my local grocery store, I told him, you know, when gas prices goes up, because this grocery chain where I live, the first time they ever laid off somebody in their 90-year existence was last summer in 2025. In 90 years, 89 years, they had never laid off an employee. Last year they did. And they're about to lay off again. There was layoffs at my wife's job. There was I can't remember the company, so I won't talk about it. But when I look at what he ran on and what he's doing, I look at America and I think you're just effing stupid. This man had his chance 8 years ago, and he screwed the pooch. And you think it's going to be different this time? You know, the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I call it the pendulum of stupidity. As far as, you know, Republicans jack shit up, now I'm gonna vote for a Democrat. Democrats jack shit up, now I'm going to vote for a Republican. And when I tell people, hey, you should vote for a libertarian, it's like, why would I do that? So the other side can win? I was like, what has the other side done to make things better? It is asinine. It is absolutely bullshit to think things are going to change because you're going to elect the same people who screwed it up last time that wanted to make you vote for the other team. And this is the same thing with the Iran war. We've done this before. We did this in 1953. The only reason the Islamic Republic of Iran exists is because of the United States foreign policy. And there is, you cannot dissect that fact up into nothing else. That is the reason why we are here now. And for Iran, the Persian Empire, prior to the Persian Empire, but Iran, the country itself, it has its proxies, just like everybody else has its proxies, but it has never attacked anybody. You can look that fact up and fact up and check me on that. I got a bit of a sinus thing going on here. But Iran has never attacked anybody. Iraq attacked them. They've had beef with Russia. They worked that out. But those are the facts. And for the United States to attack Iran has put us in peril for at least the rest of everybody's life on this panel, and quite possibly your children's lives, because this is far from over. And prior to getting into these mindless conflicts, they need to look at all these people that are making these decisions need to look at their kids and say, am I truly protecting them? Because when I woke up Saturday morning and saw the headlines that the United States had launched attacks against Iran, I immediately thought about my kids and the future that they have. And my kids are in their early 20s, and they have a way to go to set themselves up in life. And I was pissed off and saddened because I don't know what their future is going to be because of people who aren't going to be here. Trump doesn't have much more time here. Netanyahu, Putin, all those guys, they don't have much more time here. But our kids do. So when you think about war, you think about your kids and your grandkids because they're going to be paying the price for that, America. Anybody else?
I think we all pretty much covered it pretty well. Free.
Yeah, no, I agree. I got 3 sons that are of draft age, and they were trying to pushed through something last year to draft women. So that means they're thinking about the draft. And
Yeah.
I think about that every day, that, you know, I don't want my kids involved in this. And I've told them from a young age, you know, run from the recruiters, whether they're in your high school or wherever you come across them, that they're going to lie to you and, you know, try to send you over to fight for oil or, you know, minerals or whatever they're fighting for, and steer clear of all of them.
Right. So, Free, tell the people about you and your enterprise with Are You Smarter Than, especially plug what you're going to do
And
tomorrow.
tomorrow's big
Yeah,
episode.
Huge episode. Are you smarter than a politician?
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, I created and host a show called Are You Smarter Than a Politician? It's a satirical game show where we talk about liberty-based issues. And the twist is that the chat controls the score. So we get a lot of interaction and people get to share their opinions, and it turns into a lot of fun. Tomorrow night, we're doing a huge fundraiser, 3 hours long, 7 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. For You Are the Power, which is an amazing organization that uses grassroots activism to fight back against local, state, and federal laws that are hurting families. And obviously, the founder of the organization, Spike Cohen's going to be on, and he's going to fight in a gauntlet-style match against 14 other huge names in the liberty movement. We've got Justin Amash is going to be the final boss of the night. So whoever reaches him will fight for the championship. But we also have Nick Nemeth, who also wrestled under the name Dolph Ziggler. He's going to be on. I saw the great Lars Mapstead in the chat. He's going to be on. Larry Sharp, Chef Andrew Gruel, Martha Bueno, Jeff Charles, Lou Perez. So many great people are going to be on it. So we're really excited about that. And we do the show every Tuesday and Friday, usually 8 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, tomorrow is 7 p.m. Eastern because we're going to go longer. But we also have a show that we're going to do to promote the North Carolina Libertarian Party convention later this month. And then we also have the folks from antiwar.com on Friday. So we have a lot of exciting stuff going on. And a shout out, I see her in the chat, our amazing producer, Terry Batts, that puts all this together. Make sure you follow her on X2. She's Batts T76, and she does way more than just our show. So absolutely follow her.
What about Amity? Is she okay?
Never heard of her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, neither. She's one of my favorite libertarians. She gave a great speech at the California convention, and it was actually quite moving because she spoke the truth to peace and humanity. So we're going to have her on soon.
She's
too.
amazing, and make sure you follow her. She's Amity Lee 13. Yeah, now I'm in trouble. I'm going to be sleeping on the couch. She's Amity Lee 13 on X, and we've posted her speech from the California convention. I think it's on YouTube and X, and make sure you check that out. She's got an amazing perspective on the value of human life and how it applies to being anti-war and anti-abortion and anti-death penalty. And I think she's just absolutely amazing. So
she's a wonderful human being. Are you doing a live show in North Carolina?
Yeah, live show in North Carolina. I don't have the date in front of me. It's at the end of this month. But yeah, we're doing it live from North Carolina. Then we're doing it live a couple weeks later in April in Texas. And then we're also going to be at the national convention in May.
Do you have all your guests lined up for North Carolina?
Yeah, we well, I think we do. Rob Yates, who's running for LNC chair, is putting that all together.
Yeah,
Sorry,
because we got to go.
I'm not able to be there as a guest.
Man, why was he pumping you up then?
That's the weekend I'm running the Heartbreaker at Mount Mitchell, which is right down the road from where the convention will be, but it's a 34-mile trail run, so I'll be a little busy.
Well, come
All
out.
right, man.
It's on Friday night, whatever that Friday is. Come out Friday night and see the show at least.
I'll think about it.
You'll be there
fair.
or you'll be square if we could use a Gen X pun.
Yeah.
L7. All right. So this has been the Black Powder Podcast. Once again, I encourage you all to follow our good friend Free. Thank you for coming on. I truly appreciate this because this was a last minute thing and he did something before this, but he made time because he believes in liberty as much as we do. He's a libertarian, but he's not the only real libertarian like me. And he's not bold liberty like Eric, but he's a libertarian nonetheless. And I want to thank him from the bottom of my heart because this is my brother in arms. We hung out. We had a cocktail in California and San Diego, and I truly appreciate you, brother.
No, I love this show. I love what you guys do. Anytime you want me, I'm here for you.
I mean, you've said two very homoerotic things this episode.
Don't make it so gay.
Yeah, with the plug, and now anytime we want you, we could. We just,
anytime you want me, you can have me, any part of me, whatever you want.
As far as libertarians go, however you use your butt, we're cool with that. So,
is that a political slogan?
Well, I'm just saying that's a libertarian thing. Your butt is
Marcus 2028 is the slogan.
For the record, Marcus Matthews, school board. However you want to use your butt, we're cool with it.
All right.
Anyway,
with that being said, we always end this podcast with a famous slogan initiated here first on the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast, and that is to live free
or die.
This is the Black Powder Podcast, coming at you live and direct. Your salty tears season my life. It's the Black Powder.